we are. Welcome, everybody, to the Devy Primer. I'm here with my co-host, Josh Chevalier, of course. And then welcome, JD Yankee. That's how you say your last name, right? Okay.
Yeah, Yankee. Glad to be here. Glad to watch you guys eat some hot wings. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I got some messages from Josh. He sounded a little concerned earlier. So we'll see how this goes down. I know I've been looking forward to this. This is I've had these hot sauces sitting next to me for a little bit. So and been waiting for this. But let me go ahead and throw it out there. 30% off the college football package. Comes with the Devy stuff. Comes with our guy JD, who's the player props expert. Get 30% off. Sign up now, man. We're gonna definitely make it worth your investment. Use the promo code CFB22, and that promo is running until June 30th. So let's jump in here. I think one of the major holdups for Devy is just a lot of people really don't know what it is, and they don't know how to even think about it, and it just sounds a little overwhelming, but it's really not. Basically, there's two different types of Devy formats. You have the basic, and that's where you're going to draft players that are in college, but you're not going to actually use those players. You're gonna plan them on a taxi squad, and then you're going to draft an NFL team, and you're just going to play an NFL league. So as those players that are on your taxi squad, as they graduate or declare for the NFL, they're going to automatically be moved over to your NFL roster, and then that's how you populate your NFL roster. You're still going to do like a free agent NFL draft, but that's where you're getting the majority of your players. And the other type of format is what's called a C2C, a campus to Canton league. And that's basically where you're going to draft guys in college, same thing. And don't worry, you're not drafting high school players. You are drafting incoming true freshmen. But what you do is you're actually going to play in a league with them. You're going to play a college league. But it's the same deal. When they graduate, they're going to move on to the NFL. So those are the basics, And the difficult part is kind of what we're the heavy lifting is what we're providing, and that's the going through the entire college landscape and evaluating all the players, because we got 131 teams, and in most Devy leagues you can even draft FCS guys. So it's a lot of guys to look at, and that's why we're here. So when it comes to the specific Devy format, where we're just planting our college guys onto a taxi squad, that's it's a lot easier and stuff. But when we're talking about the C2C, that's where my guy Josh comes in. That's where he specializes. So Josh, do you want to run through some of the things you got for us there?
Yeah, from a C2C perspective, like when you're playing both college and pro, like you got to really factor in their college value, because there's money to be made on that side. And I think one of the ditches I really see people fall into is that's funny. The comment is funny. One of the ditches I see people fall into is they just care about the NFL side, and they don't realize, hey, like 50% of their money went towards the college side, and they're just like burning that money. And so, I think you really have to evaluate, the balance of like, okay, this is an NFL prospect, but also guys that can give me value. Or early on, hit those Devy prospects, and then later in your draft, like load up on the college guys, because most of us think we're scouts and we're not. And so most of your later guys are going to be bust anyways if you think they're going to have NFL potential. So just play the college side. And, man, fun way to make money for sure. It's been good to me over the last couple of years playing some C2C. So
it's funny hearing you say just play the college side, because that is definitely Josh's approach to Devy. He loads up on his college roster. I'm going to tell you that. So JD is new to Devy. He's got a little bit of experience, but this is a learning process for him. The main reason he is on this, for one, we're introducing him because he's going to be a big part of the team this year. He's got the player props, he's got the all the stuff that we're not going to be doing, he's going to be doing. But he's here to save us, because what we're going to be doing today is taking the Hot One Challenge, man. And we're going to eat 10 wings. If you've seen the show, Hot Ones, then you know what it's about. And it's about punishing the guest and the host as well, I guess. And we're going to go through that. So, I mean, without further delay, Josh, are you ready? Let's bite into our first wing.
Yeah, man, let's go.
Let me warn you now, there are going to be tears.
Hell yes.
And there's going to be snotting. So I apologize beforehand. We'll try to keep it as clean and PG as we can. But it's bad. So when we get to the last wing, it's 2 million Scoville units. Okay. And what else is 2 million Scoville units? Pepper spray. So this is going to be fun. So yeah, here we go. We got the first one here is the Hot Ones, the classic. So here we go.
All right. So what do we just taking our bite and
get right to it. No point in waiting. Jump right in.
Yeah, here we go.
The classic.
This is nothing.
You ready?
This is like Kroger, hot sauce. This is nothing.
Okay.
Is there any sauce on yours, Josh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some sauce on here. I didn't douse it in sauce, I'll admit, but there's enough on here.
All right. Yeah, we're not going to get burned up on that one. Okay.
There we go.
Not too bad, or what?
No, not bad at all. No. So let's jump into this. So actually the first thing I do, I mean, obviously I'm going to be looking at the NFL side. And for me, when I'm playing in a bunch of these Devy leagues with a bunch of these CFF guys, it's like easy money for me. I'm going to dominate on the NFL side. And, so that's always something I look forward to. But, so I look at I'm evaluating NFL side, for the startup. It just, normal, nothing big. I'm looking at it as a dynasty league. But then the first thing I do when I go into the college side is I look at the true freshman. That's usually the part that it takes the most time, because I mean there's not a lot of data to work with. You can go to Max Preps and get data 24/7 Sports. That's another good one, but they don't provide like games played, things like that. So there's some shortcomings here and there, and but I want to get an idea of who's incoming. And things like that, but I don't really go into get into like the video yet. That's something I saved. Like Josh was asking me yesterday, what did you think about this guy? What did you think about it? Talking about the true freshman. I'm like, yeah, I'm not quite there yet. But so I like to look at get an idea for who's incoming first, and then move on. What about you, Josh? What's your first step?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking like a startup, then I'm definitely going the first 5 rounds. I'm going like guys are gonna have heavy NFL prospects, and usually for me, like you, it's a true freshman. So my whole offseason process, what I love to play the most is college dynasty. So I'm already looking at top 300 freshmen, watching film, stuff like that in the offseason. So I'm just taking a look at like a lot of guys I'm picking up right now are the Nick Singletons of the world. Early on, guys that Travion Henderson last year, Caleb Williams, I'd get in the 3rd round, guys that would be 1st round picks in a Devy C2C league this year. I'm trying to get some value on the year before, because, I'm just not going to be able to have the talent evaluation level of US. So it's like, how do I find value a year before what other guys are already scouting out, and then try to build up the roster that way. So, and then on the NFL side, I've got, a 2 to 3 year window of guys that are, they're going to produce now. And then hopefully I can give myself that curve to be able to put some guys on the roster.
Yeah, definitely. And you definitely have that advantage, because, I've got some responsibilities on the NFL side. So while I'm over here trying to evaluate NFL draft stuff, I ask you, so have you started looking yet, Josh? Oh yeah, I've already, I'm like 30 drafts in, and I haven't even finished up my NFL draft profiles yet, and you already, way ahead of me. So definitely something you take advantage of. So what about you, JD? What's your opening strategy for evaluating NFL talent?
It's probably more similar to Josh's. I know he does a more thorough review of all the incoming freshmen. Josh, what do you hit? Was it 300? You try to hit like 300 or
300 a year.
So you hit more than I do, but yeah, I try to be up on the biggest names. I do a little bit of shortcut. I don't know if I have time for the 300, but like the biggest G5 names, right? Guys that are going to be surefire college producers for sure that like nobody's drafting, right? You can get them really late sometimes, Josh, and you're like, this kid's a high 3-star with, on a team with no talent around him. He's going to get touches. So I basically just try to identify. There's almost always like little cheap spots where I can get a guy that I feel very confident in. So just trying to identify those spots people aren't on. Josh probably does a better job of the high G5 talent, and that's really what you want, right? If you get those, it only takes one or two, like a Travion Henderson. You grab him wherever you can get him second, third round, and like Josh said, that really pays off dividends. So being mostly a college guy, my process is somewhat similar to that.
Yeah, so I play mostly in industry leagues, and there's no Travion Henderson in the second round, and I don't care what year you're doing it. It was either first couple of picks or he's gone. But I mean, I try to get through as many guys as I can, but there's no way I'm getting through film on 300 guys. There's no way, a true freshman. But I will say one of the things I like to look at, since I'm unable to look at film on that many guys, is I do like to look at what guys did at the Nike opening. And I mean, we ran into a wall with the COVID thing, and a lot of guys, we didn't get a lot of testing. There was a couple other combines around that you can get numbers from. And, so are we taking the 40 time, the short shuttle and the vertical from these kids when they're 17, they're not even seniors in high school yet? Are we taking that and we're saying, okay, this is who the kid? No.
Right.
But what we can do is we can get an idea of where their athleticism is at that early stage. And you can, and especially when it's useful for NFL because you can then compare those numbers to what they do at the combine, and it's so telling. You look at some of the guys like Myles Garrett, what they put up at the combine or at the Nike opening compared to what they put at the combine, and right away this guy has been working his butt off because he went from a scrub, no athleticism. Now he was good, but he wasn't athletic. Then he gets to the combine, just blows up, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this guy's generational. He's put in work just beyond anybody. But I think this is perfect timing. Let's move along to Island Wing Sauce by Adobo Loco. You ready for this, Josh?
That just sounds crazy. All right, let's go.
This is vanilla stuff, man. Vanilla.
It's only 5,500, so it sounds crazy, but I think we could put a couple more.
Yeah, Loco in the name is it's misleading. Get her out of here, please.
All right, Wes seems fine. Josh seems fine as well. Disappointed.
So I do have a story. Let me chew this first. When I was a teenager, I was packing hod, and I mean it's not a glorious job. You're basically the grunt, and so like we got the guys running the job and stuff. Well, my boss, the head honcho of the crew, he's got this hot sauce. He went down to Mexico, I guess, the weekend before, and he came back with this hot sauce. I don't even know if it was approved by the Food and Drug Administration, and he says this stuff is unbelievable. Like it will just wreck you. And he was like, I bet you wouldn't even, try it. And I was like, I'll try it. I was like, I was like, let's put a little wager on it. I was like, you fill up a bottle cap with that hot sauce. I'll drink it. I won't eat or drink anything for 30 minutes. I was like, let's put a couple hundred on it. Then another guy bet me 200. Another guy bet me 200. And I did it. And it was brutal. But you know what? And I'm pretty competitive. So he was pouring down my face, and I was wiping snot. It was disgusting, but I was I got paid that day. It was on a Friday, and walked away with an extra 600. So it worked for me.
So you've been training for this for a long time. It's like what you were talking about with the 17-year-olds and their athletic testing. This was just getting started. Now you are in your final form here.
Yeah.
Really competing and just you're gonna wreck Josh, I think is what
Wes's mantra is like no pain, no gain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, I've been training my whole life for this. This is what I live for.
My mantra is avoid pain at all costs. Like, it's perfect for this.
Okay, so and what you were saying, Josh, about the draft, absolutely. I tend to go a little longer. I actually, what I try to do, if I'm gonna sacrifice anything in a Devy, it's gonna be my college roster. Mm-hmm. And I say that not saying that I'm gonna sacrifice the roster, but I'm gonna sacrifice, if I'm gonna lose in a league, it's gonna be on the college side. It's not gonna be on the NFL side. I'm gonna win that one. And I mean, it doesn't mean I always win them, but that's where I'm putting everything in. So I continue to draft players that I think are going to be NFL prospects from beginning mostly until the end. This year, there wasn't as strong of a class for NFL talent available in a few of the leagues that, where we did a touch-up draft. And But and that's usually what I'm going to do. So it's pretty much like the exact opposite what Josh is going to do. He's going to go first couple of rounds. He's going to try to get his NFL talent. Then he's going to load up on his college guys. And so and that's fine, because that's what is his specialty. So I get that completely. So the next thing I want to look at is I'm going to look at obviously, I mean, it doesn't mean I'm just going to completely abandon my college roster. I'm going to try to draft as many of the NFL guys as that I can, but I'm also going to try to have a competitive college roster. And then I'll tell you, the draft is only part of the equation, because then you have all of free agency. And I feel like free agency in college is just, there's so much more out there. So you're able to build up your college roster that way. And that's where I try to get my victories in college, is through the waiver wire, through the blind bidding, whatever you got. And
that's a great point.
Yeah,
that's a great point. NFL, your free agents, I mean, how many are going to pop up that are going to really be a producer? In college, it happens. There's a person who ends as a first round value like every single year that nobody saw coming. Like Joe Burrow is going undrafted. So
absolutely. Like Rasheen Ali, Marshall, I picked him up everywhere. So here's what I do. Like I said, I'm mainly drafting for my NFL roster, but then afterwards, I'm going to look at the waiver wire. And one of the things that I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at those initial depth charts that are released, and I'm going to see the guys that were like, where did this guy come from? He must be pretty good. That he's the starting running back for a decent squad. That's the guy that's going to catch my attention.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And that's good. Yeah. And I think one of the things, I mean, you mentioned the opening earlier, and you kind of gathering these statistics on these players. And it's like, I found like the opening actually closed off their resources to like, you may have access to it, Wes, because you have connections, but like most of us don't have access to the opening stuff anymore. So I've had to transition to 100-meter times in a lot of ways, and kind of gathering that data because it's public. Yeah. But I will say on that side of things, I look like my running backs, I look BMI, right? My, wide receivers, I look at, man, if they're not running a 10.9 or, under an 11, I'm not touching them. And if they're under 190 pounds and they're not running under a 10.8, like I'm not touching them. So there's some of that stuff I'm starting to integrate, but I'm really like 2 years into the C2C thing. Because when we early on started with like our C2C league, like I just went all college. Mm-hmm. And this last year is the first year that I really started. I was like, all right, I could win the college side, but like I want to try to start testing some stuff. And so I took like an Xavier Worthy early and some other guys that I'm like, man, like, I like these guys, but because I'm in an industry league with all you guys that know what you're doing, it's like, well, I got to play to my strengths and see what we're doing. But yeah, I think I'm, I picked that up from you too, Wes, of like the BMI stuff, some of the things that really, the short shuttle times, like if I can find that stuff, like that stuff really does matter to me. Like what's the differentiation between the 40 time and the short shuttle? Like to kind of lateral quickness, agility, that type of stuff. But
yeah, definitely. And
harder to come by.
Yeah, no, it is. And I, one of the place that I get it is if you go into 247 Sports into the individual player profiles and change the drop down to their high school, and a lot of times they'll have the numbers listed there, and that's been it's a lot of work because you have to do it all by hand,
right?
But if you go into our rankings, our Devy rankings, you'll see we have everything that's available for you, and that's useful because you get a sense for the type of player, based on the size. I mean, you're always going to have your X's and Z's that are smaller, but for the most part, you're going to see the smallish guys on the inside, and then you can kind of look at the speed. Usually your Z receiver, he's the faster guy, and you're going to have a whole lot of different types of setups and alignments based on the offense. So there's a learning curve there as well. Just trying to get an idea for what does a G receiver do, or what I mean? And there's just and some teams have their own terminology for the different types of receivers, like Notre Dame. They have their own. Tommy Rees, he's got his own little system. So it's difficult. It's a challenge, but I think this is time for round 3 here. So
okay, hey, after we do round 3, I want to ask you a question, Wes, about some evaluating between teams and players on teams and how you do that.
Okay.
Can I do that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, you got to get some more hot sauce on you first, though.
All right, Burns and McCoy. We have that's the company, and we have mescaline. That's just what it's called. Okay.
Mescaline. All right, so they're dealing with 1,600 Scoville. 16,000.
16,000, bro.
16,000. So you guys jumped up from 5,000 to 16,000. So quite the jump. We'll see if that jump is has any effects, because the first 2 did not have much effect. I want to see some crying, some sweating, some tears.
Man, I hope we're not crying this early on, man.
Maybe not quite yet, but
that'd be devastating for me.
Putting in the body work, putting in the body work for those championship rounds.
Did you eat it, Wes?
Body blows.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's good.
Oh, I don't want to drink that because that was one of the things, wasn't it? Who's going to drink first?
Oh,
I was just drinking just because I was eating.
You won that.
Yeah, Josh is all over that.
Oh, okay.
I was drinking on the first one.
I'm just thirsty. It's not. It's really not spicy. You would be able to tell. It's not spicy.
So Wes, what do we have here? Is that oat milk I see?
Yeah, and I was gonna say that. So Natalie Portman's. I watch a lot of hot ones. If I recognize the name, I watch it. And I mean, this girl, she's genius levels. Got crazy high IQ. And she did the best of all the people I saw on the show. And she's like this. She has a master's degree in some crazy something from Harvard or something. And she wrote this science paper on behavioral. I can't remember. I don't know what it was, but it was just ridiculous. And she said, that if you drink water, it just messes with you. And that it's oat milk is where it's at. So I don't need it right now, but I will need it down the road.
Yeah. So Wes, one of the flaws that I see with, again, I'm doing a lot of C2C leagues at this point. One of the flaws that I see is people are like, oh, let's just pick an Ohio State or Alabama wide receiver, and like one of them is going to hit. But the problem is like they get one of them, and there's really, I don't see a lot of strategy and like what they're doing. So like obviously an Alabama and Ohio State wide receiver is probably going to go in the first round, right, of the draft, and maybe two, like we saw this last draft. But like when you're evaluating like Chris Olave or whatever, like how are you determining? Obviously there's teams who you get what I'm asking, but there's teams to identify. But then how do you determine the players that you're going to identify on those teams? What traits are you looking for? Like, what are the things that stand out to you?
Oh, absolutely. So first thing is, get your hands on the tape. Obviously, I definitely don't want to try to evaluate a player. There's a running joke. It's single game scouting, and you see too many people doing that kind of stuff where they just watch one game. Like, okay, no, I'm sold. This is the guy. Don't do it. Don't do it, because a lot of the competition, it means a lot, and for an example, like Treylon Burks, if you look at the Alabama game, I can't remember the Alabama corner, but he ended up not even getting drafted. It was a bad corner that was on in that game, and he shredded him. And it was his biggest game from his last year. And, I didn't put a whole lot of stock into that. It was, he was Job. It was Job. Job.
Yeah, Josh Job.
Josh Job,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And, but, so I definitely want to make sure that I'm going to look at all the tape. I'm not going to like rest until I have every tape from a season, right? And so let me ask you this: you're talking about like, so I'm evaluating for the NFL.
Well, so like high school into college, right? So like there'll be 4 wide receivers coming in Alabama or Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
And how are you determining which of those? Like I know a lot of guys are on Keon Graves this year from Ohio State, but like why? Like for you, like why would it be one wide receiver over another at Ohio State? Is there traits that you're looking for?
Yeah.
Or things like that coming in?
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny that you mentioned him, because he's actually he's set up to be Jackson Smith and Jigba's heir apparent. So I'm surprised people don't like him.
No. People are very high on him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah. So like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to collect all the data. I'm going to see if I can find some athletic stuff. And I also look at, you have to look at everything you have. I don't look into like the 200 meter or relay stuff or anything crazy like that. But yeah, definitely record all the 100 meter stuff. It seems to be, and then you can actually go into the track and field measurements from the different high schools. Sign up for one of those accounts, and you can get a lot of athletic information, like long jump, high jump, things like that. So, I'm going to try to get as much information as I can and get together in front of me. Then I'm going to look at, another thing I like to look at is there's a correlation between how a player, the jump he makes from his first breakout season, just where he comes, because there's usually a point where a guy just comes out of nowhere in high school and he's doing nothing. And then boom, his body, his brain, everything just gets it, and he has a good year. And I look at that. I look at the jump from that year to the next year. Usually it's a junior year, and I look and see what he does to his senior year. And there's a really good correlation between that and when you first see a player do something in college and what he's going to do the year after. And I really like that. I really like that comparison when I'm trying to evaluate who's going to do something this year, in a given year. But as far as the tape, it's so difficult. You basically you have to completely eliminate competition. I don't know who these players are, and I'm not going to spend the time looking up the individual defenders. So basically what I'm looking for is in talking to you yesterday is a lot what you're looking at. You're looking at footwork. You're looking at changing of direction. You're looking at I want to see a guy that's not just running verticals all day long. I want to see when they the type of cut in their route. See, I'm not going to go crazy into it like I will when I'm evaluating an NFL, a guy for the NFL, but I am going to look for the basics. And when you go back and you watch a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba, I mean, you could see it. It was
Right.
there when he was at Rockwall. It was right there on his tape. This guy was legit coming out, And you mentioned Xavier Worthy. That was another guy that I was high on last year. I didn't get him everywhere, but I did get a few shares because he looked really good on tape. But I'm not going to spend a crazy amount of time on it. Because like I said,
Right.
I've got too many responsibilities. But I used to do it. I used to do it when I had before I worked at PFF and started working, my 80-hour work week. I used to go crazy with that and watch all kinds of high school stuff.
Right. Yeah. Xavier Worthy is one of those, right? I mean, he was kind of easy in the sense of like ran a 10-6. As soon as Michigan, he wasn't able to get in there. Sark was all over him. And it's like, oh, okay, Sark sees some talent in this guy. You see the route running, in high school. And yeah, he was the one that I think is a little bit easier to identify. But yeah, I look for route running is one of the things I look for. Like Marvin Harrison Jr., like when you're like 6'3", 220, 6'4" actually now, and you can run route. Your dad was Marvin Harrison, like maybe the best route runner of all time. And then that shows up on tape. It's like, okay, there's probably something there. And, we should take that into consideration. But you're right. Like, I think wide receivers are the hardest in high school to evaluate from a film perspective because dominant high school receivers are just running 9 routes.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit different. But yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that a lot, man. Thanks.
Speaking of Shark, he was actually the guy that originally noticed Bryce Young. Bryce Young went to, I believe he was 12 years old, and he was quarterbacking a high school team in this tournament at USC in the Coliseum, and his jaw hit the floor. I was like, I want this kid, and Bryce Young was going to go to USC. And then when Sark went to Alabama, he followed him there. So
that was what did it, huh? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I was wondering what the transition was. That's awesome. It's a good story. I like it.
Okay, so what about you, JD? I mean, when you're going through and do you evaluate tape or are you a straight statistic guy? What are you just straight analytics? What is your approach?
More so analytics and statistics. Do a lot of evaluating systems and who's the next guy up. A lot of chasing volume, chasing coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I start my process because, like I said, I'm mostly in the college side. So with 130 teams, is watching tape on all these guys. It's just I don't have a chance. So a lot of what I'll do is I'll start there, and that'll give you guys who are projected to take a big leap. Or whether that success is going to continue, right? You can almost always trace some sort of line into where that success came from, right? Where that increase in volume came from. You can almost always go back and find it. So that's what I spend a lot of my offseason time doing. Once I get that, and there's always questions, right? It's who's going to be the running back for Oregon State because they keep producing 1,000-yard seasons. It's like, I don't know. So then that's when I go back in. I'm like, well, some people like Fenwick, some people like Damian Martinez, Trey Lowe got all that run. Then that's when I identify people to watch tape on, and I'll go back and I'll watch games. I'll go back and watch their high school tape. I'll go back and look at their high school stats. It's basically just identifying guys to deep dive in, because if you try to deep dive on every single person, like Josh does a fantastic job deep diving on pretty much every relevant incoming freshman, right? But I more so do so once they're in, identifying who's the next guy up and look. So like, that's a great thing you said about Graves being the next JSN fill-in role. Like, that's a great thing I would try to identify is, okay, like Chapman on UNC looks like he's going to fill in for that Josh Downs role once Josh Downs is gone. So I'm like, well, is he actually Josh Downs? Because Josh Downs is a special human. So that's when you try to dive.
Not everyone has a 40-some-inch vertical.
No.
Right. And is running like a 10-500. Yeah. I think another thing too, I think with what you're saying with JD with systems is you don't have to be this massive talent evaluator. You can go, hey, Utah's pretty good at evaluating the running back position. Who are they targeting?
They like Glover. The coaches love Glover.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Where's the poster, man? You had the poster, right?
Oh, it's in the it's in the mailbox. I'm sorry. Right. It's coming. Okay. It'll be plastered. Yeah. But yeah, Cartavis Norton at Iowa State. I mean, there's these guys that are just coming up that these coaches are just gushing over, that I think you can take what they're looking at, and they just look at traits that I think are pretty similar. And and they can hit, at least on the college side. It's not foolproof, but the Alabamas of the world, some of that can be foolproof if you can figure out those guys.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you mentioned Glover, you mentioned Norton, and there's I put in a ridiculous amount of time when I was putting together my college ranks, and there's no I really feel like there's no way that you can have a foolproof setup to your approach. I feel like you're always going to miss guys. It's impossible.
Totally.
There's no way to do it that where you're gonna catch it. We got 131 teams. A lot of times you've got 10, 7, 8, 9, 10 running backs competing. It's impossible to get everybody. And I know it. As soon as I finish my ranks, I know I'm gonna miss people. But it's not about the guys you miss. It's about trying to find enough guys that are going to hit that you were able to evaluate. One of the guys you brought up there, somebody I love, one of my top guys, top true freshman at running back, and that's Damian Martinez. I just love that kid. 230 pounds already going into, like you said. I mean, how many years in a row has Oregon State put out just a stud running back there? So. I'm all over Damian Martinez. Love him. And that's the hardest thing about doing this for a career is everything that you evaluate and all the work you put in, you just got to give it all away.
Right.
Everyone else gets it. And then you go into your industry drafts and everyone knows who you like, so that's just the way it is. So, but you know what? I think the fourth wing is calling us here. So
let's go.
Yeah. Number 4. All right. So what do we have here? I think it's got Verde in the name. We got
we've got
Los Calientes Verde.
Los Calientes Verde. Yeah.
All right. 36,000.
I got a mini wing on this one, so
a little nugget.
Pretty good.
Josh, what do you got there? Is that a bone in? How are you eating these, Josh?
Yeah, bone in right here.
Okay, nice.
I'll tell you what. The after effect is increasing with each one of just like of hotness for sure.
Well, that was the last one that was under Tabasco.
Easy peasy, Josh. This is pregame warm-ups.
Yeah. The next one is we're going above Tabasco.
All right, now we're getting into the real territory.
Yeah.
I will say with Josh's approach, the only thing I'm concerned about here is that grabbing the boneless wing means you have to grab the boneless wing with your hands. And if you are perspiring, you are for some reason crying, and you go to wipe the eyes, that's when things could get serious.
Look, there's cultures, right, where they shake with one hand and they wipe with the other. That's what we're doing here, man.
Okay.
We're eating with one hand, we're wiping with the other. So
that's awesome.
Here we are.
You mentioned that wide receiver is the hardest
for me.
To evaluate. See, I'm kind of the other way. The one that I have a hard time with, and it's really not that I have a hard time with getting it right, but I just feel like there's just not a whole lot out there, because you can look in high school, and see, of course, some of the top talents are going to have it, but tight end. I feel like the statistics in high school is important, because you have a guy like Brock Bowers or Michael Mayer, but even like Michael Mayer, he didn't put up ridiculous numbers in high school. It was.
Wes, sorry, I'm gonna get back to that. I specifically remember, because Notre Dame's I have family members go there, so I follow them pretty closely. I specifically remember heading into the freshman season, right? This kid Mayer, he's really special. He should be the blocker tight end, and Tommy Tremble should be the receiving tight end. And I go in expecting that, and then it's the complete opposite. Like, Tommy Tremble's one of the best blockers I've ever seen at the position, and Meyer's out here,
gets drafted in the 3rd round to do it.
However, right, athleticism. Tight end is all about the athleticism. You got a guy like Gavin Bartholomew. You watch the kid play, and right away this kid's going to be playing on Sundays. Like, he just has it, right? But we didn't have any athletic testing on him. But when you look at a guy like Bowers with 4.55 speed and a 40 and a quarter vertical at 6'4", 230 pounds. I mean, goodness, this kid was just screaming future star, you know. But, you know, and Michael Mayer, you know, he went to school not too far from where I live in Louisville. He went to Covington Catholic. I think while he was there, he had like a 59-1 record. He wanted to be a basketball player. He didn't even want to play college football, or he didn't even want to play football. And his coach was like, no, you need to come play football. It's like, just play 1 year. If you don't like it, you can quit. But just play 1 year for
and
me.
Here we are.
Yeah, and here we are. Yeah. But, you know, go ahead.
I think like what you're saying, the athletic profiles, right? It's the basketball players that converted. So a couple guys this year, like Jaleel Skinner from Miami. Like a lot of people thought coming in, oh, this guy, he's got some traits, but will he be able to gain weight? Will he be able, you know, is he going to be able to put it all together? And man, raving reviews in spring camp. Like he's packing on pounds quickly, and like he's filling into his body and coordination and stuff like that. And so it's like guys like that are like just like kind of like freak metrics, like 84-inch wingspans.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the Shimon, you know, Matires of the world from Cincinnati, who was a basketball player in high school down from Miami. And then he was a project, but he was a pretty high level recruit for the G5 level. And I don't know if he'll take over this year, but he's a monster. And I think he's a future day 2 pick, at least in the NFL draft. He's like killing it in camp this spring. So it's guys like that like, can you watch them? And for a guy like Matire, like you could wait until this year because nobody was on him to see if he could develop. So you don't have to waste a pick on him necessarily, but
and then
I should have.
He had to go put up a big spring game, and now everyone knows about him, unfortunately.
So that was so annoying.
That was not polite of him whatsoever.
Okay, I'm going to throw it out there, though. If you want to know what's going on down in Miami or USF or FAU, you go talk to Josh, because that he keeps like 40% of his brain waves on that area. So that's I was shocked when you didn't have Xavier Weaver in your top 100 wide receivers. I was shocked.
Yeah,
he's good, man.
I don't know if you recently saw my my interactions with USF like football community, but they came after me, man. They were pretty mad at me.
Josh is a wanted man by that fan base now.
Yeah, man. So I can't be promoting Xavier Weaver anymore. So I got to keep that stuff to myself, apparently.
Speaking of Miami, I know you're all over Trevante Citizen. So So tell us about him. What's big on the true freshman running back for Miami?
Wes, one of the things I learned from you this last, just doing live streams the last 3 months together, or I guess 6 months ago now, but when we're doing it together, is how a player wins matters, right? So if a small guy is trying to win, like he's 250 pounds, like it's not great. Or a 230 pound guy that dances all the time and is just trying to like juke guys out, that's not going to work. The higher level he gets. Trevante Citizen, like he's got some of the best feet that I've ever seen. He's 6 foot, 217. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He returns kicks, so he has that athleticism, and I think he runs like 11 second 100, and so I think he's got enough speed at 217 that he can really hit. And so I think a guy like that, and then again, like Mario Cristobal just seems to be able to hit on running backs and talented running backs. And so, between all of that, like I love Trevante Citizen, and, Louisiana's like pretty good competition for high school. So he's not just like, just crushing a bunch of kids on tape that aren't very good. And, I have all these things that check boxes, right? So there's those things. And then like a recruiting guru from Miami, this guy, Larry Bluestein, who's just like known everywhere there. He's like a legacy. He says like Trevante Citizen's the best running back recruit Miami's had since like the Frank Gore, Willis McGahee days. So when there's guys, again, like I see things and I'm like, okay, it looks good to me. But then I also look for confirmation from sources that like they are, they've been doing this for years, and just see what they say. And if all of it lines up, then it's like, this is a no-brainer to me that we should go after this guy. And he's got, both college potential and NFL potential. and there's nobody like him in that backfield right now. That's worth their salt. So.
Yeah, and that's a great point because, like with Damian Martinez, even though I liked him, I actually looked at his video and I just really liked what I saw, and even though and then he put up just ridiculous numbers, and so I'm liking him, but it wasn't, and I wasn't too crazy, going too overboard with him until I saw that he was ahead of everyone on the depth chart, and then I was like, okay. Now we're talking. I want to see a coach that commits early, and that's something that really helps me with my evaluation on the true freshman. Because, like I said, so when we're evaluating a player that's going to the pros, and he's playing in the Power Five, and he's going up against these defenses, these known commodities, we can trust that defense is putting up a fight. But we can't do that with this high school tape. We just can't do it. We don't know who the individual players are, and it just takes too much time to try to track down who that kid is and things like that. So I feel like when you get, like you said, when you get confirmation from guys in a system, and they're really high on a player, like right out of the gate, then right away, okay, this is somebody that we need to be watching. So JD, I know there's some guys that you're looking at that you feel like have some long-term potential. Who were some of the true freshmen that you got your eyeball on?
Yeah, I'm still looking at it, but you stole my Damian Martinez one. I know Josh knows I'm big on him. I kind of start my process like westwards and then look eastwards, because I know a lot of people aren't looking at West Coast football and I happen to reside there. So that's where I try to get some early drafting values, because like you said, when we're in these industry leagues, it's hard to find value. So that's one way I try to, is I know some people just aren't looking at them, and the P's near the end of the alphabet. A lot of people start if they're doing conference by conference, right? And if they're doing G5 first, that's the last one they're going to look at is Pac-12. So Damian Martinez is one. I like Jalen Glover from Utah's another one. I don't think this year.
Josh's guy.
That's Josh's guy. It's I don't think this year's the year for him, but he mentioned Utah knows what they're looking at for running backs. We know for a fact it's a huge part of their system. They've said very good things about him, and I don't think he's going to break out this year, but I also wouldn't be surprised, because Tavion Thomas, I know his final stats looked amazing, but it was a roller coaster of a year. He had fumbling issues. I
fumbled in the spring game.
Yeah, of course he did.
At the goal line.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think those are two I've identified for sure. Trevante Citizen, I know that's Josh's guy, so I can't steal him, but I was looking at Miami doing a deep dive there today, and man, with Josh Gaddis combined with Mario Cristobal and what Cristobal did for Oregon, coaching up that offensive line, where all of a sudden they're just the best offensive line in Pac-12, and people forgot how that happened. It's Mario Cristobal. He's an offensive line guy at heart. And then with all the good things we're hearing about Citizen, it's just like, man, he could do some serious damage, and he's probably going to get carries this year. He's probably going to be a factor going forward for the next 3 years. So I don't know. Those are three of my favorites. Wide receivers.
So I will say that the guy in Miami that I'm mostly excited about over anyone else, I don't care how good a Trevante Citizen looks right now. I mean, he's a running back. He's not going to play beyond his 30s. I mean, it's an uphill battle. But I'm going to tell you who I am very excited about in Miami is Tyler Van Dyke. I'm just saying, this kid looks, if anybody has a chance to get drafted, to have their name called near CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, it's Tyler Van Dyke. This kid is legit. And for me, came out of nowhere. And then I have a hard time evaluating a quarterback too far ahead outside of the top couple of guys in a class, just because they look so lanky and they're just not athletic yet. And there's just a lot of things in it. And then and then you'll see a kid and it just, the light turns on and they just, you really find out who they are, good or bad. Man, when he got his opportunity last year, was he not good? But let's stick a pin in that. It's time for the Sauce Leopard Company and the Seventh Reaper. So they're gonna be in Josh's nightmares. So
My kids, when we were coming on here, like, so they watched the Tom Holland Hot Ones with me, and my daughter was like, "Why would you do this? Like, this makes no sense. Like, please don't do it." And
So
it
do
was
you
the
actually
Carolina
name
Reaper that
your
got it.
kids anymore, Josh, or you just call them like daughter number 4?
Daughter number 4 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many kids do you have now? I forget. It was like 6.
I have 4, but
Oh,
the
okay.
last one's a foster kiddo, so that one rotates usually.
Oh,
So
okay.
got to keep
Okay.
you on your toes.
Well, we have another guy who literally has. I mean, I think he has like 17 kids, at least 9. At least 9. It's ridiculous. But
That's crazy.
yeah, here we
Here we
go.
go.
The
All right.
7th Reaper.
I'm expecting some facial. I'm expecting it to show on Josh's face here. It's what, 59,000 Scoville. So a definite jump up. The name, I feel like there's no way it can live up to that name. So
Mm-hmm.
Wes is fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
My tongue is burning.
Yes.
I have a very,
Yes.
very high tolerance, Josh. So
My tongue is burning, and my lips are going to be burning for sure.
there it is.
Yes. The
And here we
sniffle.
go.
We have the first sniffle of the show.
See, I'm worried that I'm going to get down to these last couple, and I'm going to be like, okay, let me tell you that sauce I got from the barbecue place I was telling you about. So what I did is I went to a barbecue place. I'm like, I'm going to challenge myself here, and I got they talk about how hot it is, and I ate it, and I was fine. What I mean, my mouth burned. I could tell I had a lot of pepper, but I was fine. It was when I hadn't eaten anything of substance that day. And when it hit my stomach, I mean, it brought me to my knees. It hurt so bad. But other than that, I was fine. I'm afraid I'm going to get all the way through this. But, that's what they always say on the show. Where I was like, oh, this is fine. I'm going to be fine. You know what I mean? Then they get to number 8. And that's where.
Yeah, that's what I'm not looking forward to, for sure. Beyond
insanity. So, yeah, Tyler Van Dyke. And I'll tell you, one of the games I loved was watching him play against Pittsburgh and Kenny Pickett.
Mm-hmm.
They were just going up and down the field.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh had a decent defense. I mean, it wasn't as good as the teams that we've seen in the past, but it was they had some good players. It wasn't all 11, but what a good game. I just enjoyed that one so much. And
yeah, that was a fun one.
I'm so excited about Tyler Van Dyke. I think he's and not a lot of people are even talking about him. Even in the Devy community, I know there were a couple of recent mocks that had him in the first round, and that's all going to change this year. That's all going to change. He's going to be up there.
There's some pretty crazy names being thrown around as there's no guy, and there's some crazy names that I'm like, no freaking way. Van Dyke, I mean, I'm kind of a late adopter on Van Dyke because you said like some of these quarterbacks look like tall and lanky and awkward, and that's all that he was to me. I thought Jake Garcia was going to be the guy to step up for that team, right? I just thought he looked better than what I'd seen, and so I was a late adopter on him. And but I agree, when I'm looking at these first round quarterbacks, it's like, well, either Will Levis or whoever, at least he has traits, or there's some truly crazy names. Tanner McKee, and then it's like, okay, Van Dyke fits. He belongs there. It would not surprise me one bit if he's a top 10 pick.
Yeah, I'm all over him. Another guy I like there that I have in my top 7 in our Devy rankings is Grayson McCall. I really like him. Really like his arm. I like his placement. It's actually I'd like to see him run a little bit less. I mean, it wouldn't be good for CFF, but I want to see him stay on the field because I feel like he's got the ability to win with his arm, and he's definitely not going to be able to run like that at the NFL level.
Yeah.
So
he definitely it feels like the NFL too. It's like there's traits that they look for, right? And it's like mobility, strong arm, you got some accuracy, right? If you have those 3 things, and Grayson McCall has those, I think he can do all those things.
He's like more aggressive than I originally had pictured looking at his stats, because he plays at Coastal Carolina. I try to watch them, but don't watch them as much. Looking at stats, like I wouldn't think he's aggressive. Like his super efficient, his numbers, right? His passing efficiency is always through the roof. His completion percentage, etc. But yeah, when you watch the tape, the traits, like he's super aggressive, like fitting it into tight windows. There are a lot of amazing throws. So I think one thing that he's injured this offseason, a lot of people expected him to make a jump to a Power 5 team and compete for a starting job there to boost his draft stock. And I think that injury might have really hurt him. But if he's healthy, he's going to go off this year. And it sounds like he's going to make a full recovery. So he's going to be a fun one to watch for sure.
Yeah, another guy that I was leery on at first was Devin Leary, and I've come on to him a little bit, and I like him. And then the other guy that really it was when we were doing the college football DFS pod, and we were talking about him, and I said, if Blake Shapen comes out and beats Oklahoma State, I'm gonna seriously be impressed, because here we have Jerry Bohan and look pretty good. I thought that was his team, right? No, Blake Shapen just walked in, played 5 games, and took that starting job right away from him. Man, he looks so good. And we don't have a whole lot to evaluate collegiate wise, but he's another guy that I'm probably a lot higher on than other people.
Yeah, Wes, it was kind of funny you mentioned Devin Leary, because in our last national championship show of the year last year, was Kevin and I, like, we went through our Devy freshmen that we like, Devy QBs, running backs, wide receivers. And I said, like, my sleeper was Devin Leary.
Yeah.
And Kevin looked at me like I had like 3 heads. He was like, why are you mentioning Devin Leary? So when you wrote about him in your article as like a first round pick, as your like mock, I was like, thank God, because like Kevin just thought I was an absolute idiot.
I love Kevin. Don't take it the wrong way. I do. He is very set in his ways. He has a hard time allowing like a running back that doesn't fit a certain mold into his Devy discussions, Yeah. And it's just different than what I'll do. I never try to force a player into a mold. I just want to see a player that is comfortable in his own skin. So if he's 200 pounds, like a Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm not going to just cross him off the list. There's no way. Like, just like James Cook. Oh, well, he's too thin in his lower legs, but we're talking about a guy that could seriously switch to slot wide receiver today and play in the NFL. That's how good of a receiver he is. It doesn't matter if he's able to run up the middle or not. If he just gives us, 8, 9, 10 carries, if he gets, that a game and then plus his receipt, we're going to get you can never find the guys like an Austin Eckler coming out of college unless you evaluate everybody. Not everybody's going to go to the pros at 220 pounds. Right.
Well, and like a Jahmyr Gibbs is like, he's an automatic day 2 with his receiving work. If James Cook is a day 2, then absolutely Jahmyr Gibbs is. And I just wonder, I don't know why he hasn't gained more weight, to be quite honest, because he has the frame to do it. He just but he's not even like cut, right? Like most like running backs are ripped, and he's not. And I'm like, is he not working out in the weight room? Like, what's going on with Jahmyr Gibbs? So I still expect him to make a jump and to gain some weight, unless he just doesn't have it. But I can see him gaining.
Unless he's just able to win with what he has. So he put up a 4.5 and 36-inch vertical. And what?
He plays faster than 4.5.
Yeah, let's see what. Oh, and that was as a 17-year-old. Let's see what he does. Let's see what he looks like. Let's see what is, because I can't imagine Alabama featuring a running back that's not putting in the work. So I don't think that. So Gibbs is going to be the lightest running back that Nick Saban has ever featured. It's not to say he doesn't have guys behind him. I mean, Jace McClellan. I'm still all over him. I love him in Devy. I think his numbers, his metrics are just off the charts. And he's going to get the featured role, I would say, probably next year after Gibbs is gone. But there's a lot of guys here. And then another one that is not a big guy, like Devin Shane, 185 pounds. And that's updated. So, I mean, he's a smaller guy. We're talking world-class speed, though, like Olympics speed. And he's going to be the fastest running back in the NFL the day his foot hits the ground. So should we mark him off our list because he's not 220 pounds? No. No,
Mhm.
this guy is going to be a baller.
Mhm.
Reggie Bush. But again, like you mentioned earlier, you want to look at your BMI. Does BMI mean that he's going to be good or he's going to be bad? It does not. It does not.
No.
But what it does tell us is that if he's got some little skinny BMI, you're a little hesitant because
Right.
that means that they take the right shot and you don't know what's going to cave in.
The Jalen Knightons of the world that just their BMI is too don't have the frame to gain weight either.
Exactly.
Sorry, don't mean
When
to
I look
interrupt
at a
you.
Shane, he's not that skinny type. He's
Mhm.
he's got a little bit of meat on his bones. I
Yep.
think, and for his size, the BMI is actually okay. It's actually
Right.
okay. So,
Yeah,
but then
sure.
you got the monster BMI guys like Braylon Allen. My goodness, 6'2", 240. So, JD, what are your thoughts on Braylon Allen?
I absolutely love Braylon Allen. I made sure to tweet about him as much as I could last year because I feel like a lot of people were late in adopting to him because I don't know. They said he was a linebacker. He's
Hey
fat
JD,
or
is he 17?
Yes, he is 17 and he's going backwards in age. He has Benjamin Button's disease, so he will be 16 for this upcoming season, actually. But yeah, I mean, by now everyone's on it, but during the season, it was like, Wisconsin is just, we all know what they are. We all know they've been waiting for that back and they haven't been able to find one. They cycled through a bunch of guys and immediately, like before he even sees the lead back roll, it's like, okay, there's the dude. Look at how he's moving. And I know he ran some like 40 time. And this is what you're talking about, right? He ran that was like ridiculous. It was like above 5, I think, wasn't it? And so everyone, all the
5.1,
spread,
yeah.
the spreadsheet bros, and I use spreadsheets too, so I don't use them. I mean like that, but the people who only use the spreadsheets are like, oh, he's fat and slow, and who cares? Oh, he's 17. It's like, dude, no, watch him play football, please. Can we please sit down and watch a game
Yeah,
of football?
when you average 17 yards a carry in high school, like you just
Yeah.
got to be like, I don't care what the competition
Well,
is. Like you got to
it
take
goes
it
back to what we were saying, though. We're not taking these numbers. So let's put them into perspective here. These numbers were not collected like the day they walked onto a college campus.
Yeah.
This was the year before they graduated high
Right.
school. So go
Right.
look at Kadarius Toney's numbers. They're not good. Like he wasn't the type of athlete that he is now. He was not even close. He was a quarterback. He was soft. But then he put in the work. The same with a guy like Braylon Allen, who also had a short shuttle of 5. All right. So
It's crazy.
number 6, we have Collard and Ghost. It comes
70,000.
70,000. It comes to us from Hot and Spicy. Chef Sam. Okay, let's do it.
All right, Sam,
Just-
let's see what
I
devilish
just smell
concoction you
this.
have.
I smell this and my eyes start watering. All right. After this, we need to also answer a YouTube question about playing in Devy leagues. Where can you play in Devy leagues? So
Yeah, we had a good question there. Yeah, I know sometimes that's annoying, especially I know uh-oh.
I know Wes is good, but
You'll make it.
The face is reddening.
I chose drums for these ones. So
You got some meat on that
drums
bone.
for the first one, but
The
We have
BMI of that
drums.
bad boy.
We have drums, but I was like, you know what? I just want to keep
my
it
type of chicken wing.
not as messy.
We got the Braylon Allen of wings over here. I don't know if I'd choose that for the ghost.
Whew.
Oh. Yeah, that's a good question. I know sometimes that can be frustrating. It's a lot of like who you know, right? So do you guys have a good response for that? Because it is frustrating, especially I see a lot of people interested in it and then kind of get turned off, right, by just it being more difficult to find.
If there's like Wes, if it's not fan tracks, are there places like do you just do a spreadsheet that your commissioners are keeping, or what do you do?
Well, yeah, if you're it depends on the type of league you're playing. If you're playing in a, like we said, a straight Devy, you can use any site that you want because you can just do an offline draft, just build a spreadsheet and draft your players that way. But if you're going to go with, you want to do a C2C and you want to play out the college league, the only choice is Fantrax. that's where it's at, you know?
Yep.
And that's frustrating. But hopefully now that we have the NIL deals in place, I feel like we're going to start getting, hopefully as soon as we start seeing more teams invest or more companies invest in college, which it's got to happen because these players are getting paid for their image. So we're going to see that come to, it's going to happen soon. And that's kind of where I'm really, got my fingers crossed there.
Yeah, for sure.
So we got 4 more to go.
All right. What's you guys ready for the next one? Josh,
no. Let's talk about something a little in between first.
Okay. I just want to say one thing. First off, props to Fantrax. I know they get shitted on a lot.
Yeah.
But props to them. They're the only one doing it. So shout out Fantrax. I'm on that site.
Yeah.
More than
and they're improving.
Goddamn site.
And they're listening to feedback and
they're adding features.
Everything that we're requesting they're doing.
Yeah.
And so I imagine it's hard to run a site. And
even if you're doing CTC, if you're doing Devy, or you're doing a taxi squad, whatever you're doing, I don't know if it'll ever become fully mainstream Devy, right? But I think for sure what Wes is mentioning about the NIL is a big deal. Like we have the college football games coming back, right? It's going to be a lot easier. We think there's still hurdles, right, for this to become more mainstream and to run a fantasy website where you can actually list the player names. Like I remember playing when I was younger on CBS Sportsline HQ, and they didn't even have the player names, right? Just like the old college football video games, you're drafting Buffalo running back, right? So it's getting the obstacles are becoming less and less. And the more you are an early adopter of this, the more you are tuned. Even if you just have one team, if you're fine tuning your process, that way, once who knows, it becomes more mainstream, but it will become more and more out there. You will just be more in tune because you'll have your process down. Even if you're just tweaking it and not really going balls to the wall, it'll benefit you in the long run, I think. And even if you don't, it'll benefit you in your NFL teams because, like Wes said, you'll know what to evaluate. You'll know, look at rookies. You'll kind of have your process down a little bit, even if it's not fine tuned. You'll know what you're practicing. You should always be working on something as a fantasy player instead of just right.
And shameless plug, but like if you use like Wes's Devy rankings and our CFF rankings, like, and you go into a C2C, like right now, like it is wild west there where you can find that sweet spot of like that drafting the Devy guys, but then hitting the college guys. And like my ROI last year on those leagues was just insane because it's really it's a weakness in the system right now where like most people it's 50 roster spots and they spend all 50 on Devy guys and then have no idea what's going on. And so there really is an opportunity as even if you don't understand it fully, just trusting Wes and myself and getting into it, like, man, you're going to win some money and then have some fun in the process. So really put on those training wheels, but win in the process for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, if you go back to the early days of just NFL fantasy and you're looking at the transition between sports reporting, and a lot of times it was regional. So when you lived in a certain region that was near, say if you lived in California or you lived, in Texas or whatever, where there was just reporting on multiple teams, you had a serious advantage over the other parts of the country. That's what we're offering you with our rankings. We're giving you a framework that nobody else is going to have. And unless you play in an industry, which I wouldn't recommend for your first exposure. And I feel like that's what is keeping people from playing Devy, is just not knowing what it is. And really, so like Joe Dolan, I know everyone knows who he is. Last year I got him into a Devy league, and I was like, look, Joe, it's not hard. I said, your NFL guys. He knows some of the college teams. He doesn't know all of them, but he knows who the good players are across the country. And I was like, you're just going to take to this and run. And he got into the league and he was like, oh, dude, this is so much fun. Just because, he gets to look at his Penn State guys. He knows the Big Ten inside and out. And he loves it. And that is, I mean, if you do anything else this year, at least play in a Devy league, because I know you're comfortable with the NFL stuff. You might not be comfortable with the college. That's fine. Start out with just a basic Devy where you don't play the college side. But, and so you're going to just put those guys on a taxi squad. But then next year, take that next step and then try with just a college league. You don't have to play in 100 different leagues. Just do one and just try it out. I'm telling you, it'll open up a whole new world.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
And okay, so let's look at wide receiver real quick, because there's a few guys here that I'm a lot higher on than I know you are, Josh. One of the guys is Tyler Harrell. Transferring in from Louisville to Alabama, 4.24, verified speed at the Louisville Pro Day this past year. Just wanted to run it, show people what he could do. And I noticed, I've got him in my top 10. I think I had him in top 20 at least, but I know you have him outside your top 50. So what are you seeing with Tyler Harrell, or what are you not seeing with Tyler Harrell?
Yeah, so I think Harrell is one of those guys. One, like, I'm pretty high on Burton, and I know you are too, right? And so he's the main guy this year. And then after that, like, I think with Harrell, like, my fear, I could see the range of outcomes, right, is he's Jamison Williams, right? And I think that's there. I don't know if he's as good as Jamison.
Who you were on, by the way, when a lot of CFF guys, including me, were not on last year. So you were on Jamison last year.
Yeah. But Harrell, I'm afraid they're just going to use him to clear out everything underneath and not throw him the ball a ton. Because I just don't know. And I know, like, his ADOT was ridiculous last year.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit afraid that, like, his talent, I don't see the same talent I see in a Jamison Williams right now. Even last year, and I watched a lot of Louisville, like, he just didn't pop off the tape to me. Like, now part of that is, like, maybe I'm biased and I liked Amari Huggins-Bruce a lot more. But in the Alabama system, if you're on a 4-2, like, and you're going to, because he's going to be the starting outside receiver, like, I'm in there. Well, I guess the other question is, like, what do you think he plays? Do you think he takes Ja'Cory Brooks' spot? Do you think he takes JoJo Earl? Like, what? Like, because I think he's got to play outside. But what do you think?
Well, I think that we're gonna see him on the inside plenty. We're in the age of receiver alignment where you can move guys inside and out. Just trying to find the matchups. I really don't see Earl playing a big role this year with those three.
Right.
I think they need Brooks in there. They need his size. To kind of balance the Jermaine Burton and Tyler Harrell both at 6 foot. But so when Alabama, when they beat Ohio State a couple of years ago in the championship game, Nick Saban came away, and even though they won the game, he was just really disappointed just in the overall level of speed with his roster. Because he was playing up against, obviously Ohio State has a lot of speed. And, it was basically like where they had to just rely on Devonta Smith. And he was basically all of their offense. And he didn't really have that type of game-breaking speed. He was just so good, such a good route runner and things. And and that was how they were able to win through the air. And he told his coaches after that game, he's like, we need to get some speed in here. Because he could see that's just, obviously something that they had lacked. And that's why they went out and got Jameson, stolen from Ohio State, and then of course they had Mechie. So they brought in a guy that Burton, he reminds me a little more of like a Jackson Smith and Jigba type player. So I think he could play inside. I think that we're going to see those three kind of rotate and we're going to see some on the inside. I don't think we're going to see Brooks. He's going to be on the outside at all times. So it'll be between Burton and Harrell, and then we'll see some JoJo Earl. I'm not saying he won't play. I'm just saying that he's going to be the fourth in the rotation. But as far as Devy goes, when you see a guy that's got like 4.2 speed, I mean, it's one thing when you play at Louisville. And no knock on Louisville, but you're not going to get the same type of attention when you play at Louisville than you are at Alabama. If you go to Alabama and then you go to the combine, you run 4.2, you got 4.2 speed, man, you're gonna first round all the way, and everyone's gonna be all over you. So in a Devy, and I was talking about CFF ranks when I said that Josh had him at the
Right.
at 50. We're not talking about Devy. But I just want to point out that this is like Tyreek Hill type speed. There's not a lot of guys that can run that fast. So definitely somebody to look at.
And one more thing why in the CFF ranks, why do I have him ranked there? Well, the wide receiver 2 for Alabama over the last 8 years is scoring 11.5 points per game on average. And then you got 16 fantasy points per game, 11.9, 16.5, and 10 over the last 4 years. And so, I mean, I guess the question is he a 16 point a game guy?
But look at the names
even
that were the number ones, though. Is Jermaine Burton, is he going to come in and be a Jamison Williams type producer? Is he going to come in and be a Devonta Smith type producer?
Right.
And we've seen Alabama offense, support several receivers, not with major contributions, but with usable numbers. Back when we saw Jerry Jeudy, we saw Jalen Waddle, and we had Devonta Smith back before his big eruption. So they were usable as far as CFF, but I don't want to get down that.
Yeah. But that's why I don't have him as high. Is like, man, wide receiver 2s, I just struggle a little bit, unless it's Ohio State.
Yeah.
And part of that is my bias towards Marvin Harrison and my unabashed love for him. So
yeah. Okay, so let's go to number 7. Let's punish ourselves here. We got Turfing's Curse. It's a Holagi hot sauce. That's the company, South Dakota. Yeah, let's do it, man. Here we go. 99,000 Scoville units.
Big time numbers. How's it feeling? Not too bad yet. Waiting for it to kick.
Sweet.
Oh, going in for another bite. Not too bad, Josh says. He says, I might as well have the whole thing. I'm getting a little hungry. They got any hotter sauce in here?
So it's a blend of habanero, ghost, and scorpion peppers.
Scorpion pepper.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got citrus and ginger. I knew it was kind of sweet. So I lost a lot of my a little bit of my senses, when I had COVID. But it's coming back a little bit. All right, you taking another bite? I'm taking another bite.
Honestly, that one was not as hot to me as the one before that. I think maybe they're setting us up for number 8 because number 8's the one that's like
the bomb.
Tastes terrible and is like just the next level.
So is that your favorite one so far, Josh? Sounds like it is.
I mean,
it's not bad.
It wasn't bad, yeah.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
It's really not.
My lips are still burning and my tongue.
Be careful. Be careful licking your lips.
Yeah.
Now you're thinking about it. Now it's in the back of his head.
Okay, little fun fact to derail this conversation a little bit. Phil Steele had Cartavius Norton as RB1 in his magazine he just released over Jarrell Brock. So, Wes, do you have any big takes on? I'm not a big Jarrell Brock fan personally. And I don't think Cartavius Norton is overtaking that backfield this year, so don't hear me saying that. But like, what is your take on Brock? Because I see him consistently going high, and I'm just not a fan personally. But
no. I'm right there with you. I'm not feeling it. I was looking at the numbers, and I was never impressed with what I saw when he did get on the field. And I'm looking at his data right now, and he's not been impressive as far as breaking tackles. He's got a 32.8 elusive rating, and normally if a guy's not at least 80 in an elusive rating. I don't even want to look at him.
Yeah.
And elusive rating is something I learned when I was at PFF. Basically, you factor in missed tackles, forced. You look at yards after contact, but you're also looking at the same criteria as a receiver too. So it has some different variables in there. But I mean, if I'm being honest, Deion Silas has been more impressive. We're talking limited touches for both of them.
Right.
Only 13 for Silas, 51 carries for Brock. But as a receiver, yeah, I mean, Brock is he's 0.71 yards per route run, which isn't terrible. But I usually want to see that number around 1, at least 0.9. So yeah, he's fallen short I mean, I'm not that excited about the backfield there. I wouldn't be surprised if Norton does come, step forward and take that, because I feel like it's something something he could take. He put up 24 fantasy points per game over his last 17 games in high school. And so yeah, averaged 8.4 yards per carry. So, and he played for a decent school in Georgia, Waycross. They were the 20th best school in Georgia. So and that's something I always like to look at, is what was the state rank, what was the school state rank, and definitely something I want to look at. And he's already 5'11", 210, and this isn't even updated. This is what I pulled from just from looking him up in high school. So this is probably from his 24/7 profile.
And like, he didn't play his junior year because he had an injury and COVID, right? And so you have these factors, right? Where there's a lot of evaluation that happens in a guy's sophomore, junior year. And if you don't have that tape, and then so he broke out as a senior, so he's a late breakout guy. So they don't adjust those rankings till really late in the process. And so he goes under the radar pretty much throughout the whole thing. But so I think that's another thing with a guy, like, if you're like, who's Cartavius Norton? Why isn't he ranked higher? And it's like, well, that's why. Like, but if you go back and look at the tape from his senior year, like, man, that's some good tape, and he wins in way. Well, he dances a little too much for me, but like, he wins well. And then like, I got obsessed with him late March, early April. And so I started like following during their they had some open scrimmages. I started following Twitter, and it's like every fan is like, Cartavius Norton looks like the best player on the field, and it's like, not that fans know everything, but when there's like multiple different sources saying all the same things, it's like, oh, that's interesting that like a true freshman who's just stepping in is like popping off to, just the normal observer.
Yeah.
So it's like things like that for me, like, oh, okay. Again, there's all these different data points that just start to align. And you go, all right, like, I should really consider these in this process. So anyways,
I will say that the one of the biggest challenges for me with true freshmen is the athlete designation.
Yes,
because it's just so hard to invest in somebody, at least early on, when you don't know for sure what they're going to play. Because it reminds me of Trayvon Diggs. And when he was at Alabama, he came in, he had good numbers in high school as a receiver. And there was talk that he wanted to play receiver. And then next thing you know, he's one of the rising corners for Dallas Cowboys. And, my investments didn't go anywhere,
Yeah.
So that's a little wrinkle. And then the other thing is that guys can come out of nowhere. If you don't look at those, I get kind of ticked off with these athlete designations, and then all of a sudden a guy will pop, and I'm like, where did he come from? I looked at everybody, and then okay, he was under that athlete designation. So that's the other thing, So, but if you get into your first Devy league and you decide, you know what, I'm gonna try to do this on my own. So I'm gonna go in, and I'm gonna chart my true freshman, and I'm gonna try to do it and see what I can do. And I'm telling you, you're gonna run into the same issue, and
right.
but I'm hardcore. Every year, I've got a database going back pretty far on true freshmen, and I put the work in, and I make sure that I always fill in every blank, and I do some insane searches trying to find information because it's not all right there in front of you.
You have to.
You got to search if you want to fill those blanks in. And
well, Wes, a good story with that is that yesterday we're talking about Amari and Hampton. Yeah. And you're like, oh yeah, like I was like, oh yeah, I ran a 10.9.500, and you're like, oh, I have 11.54, and it's like, well, how did I know that? Because I found it on the Tar Heel Premium 247 message board. They're like, oh,
that's
some kid from his hometown.
That's useful stuff. Those message boards.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Anyways, it's just funny stuff. Okay.
This is it. Oh, one guy I want to point out real quick. And everyone, I don't know what people are seeing with this guy, but I looked at his tape. I didn't like him that much. And it's Tevin White at Arizona State. And I mean, I don't know what sometimes I don't know what these evaluators are looking at, because I just do not like this kid. He comes in ranked 24/7 has him with a 90 ESPN at an 83. What was the problem here? Because I'm not seeing that type of player.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And then on top of that, you have Arizona State. That's just an absolute mess.
Who knows if he's even going to be there?
Yeah. Like he's not going to play. Xavier Valade is going to have that backfield this year, and then who knows what's going to happen? Who knows who they're going to recruit? Who knows what coach is going to come in after Herm Edwards is fired? I mean, there's just so many variables, right, that are inconsistent. It's a guy like Tevin White. It's like, man, I'm staying away from that. Even if I like this film, you would be, well, with transfer portal, that changes the game and a lot of this stuff. I mean, like an Evan Pryor, who you like a lot, Wes, and I like a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I like Pryor. I think he's going to be a player. Even if he transfers out, I think this is a guy that's going to make some noise. But yeah, I mean, just go back and just take all the players that Arizona State has lost the past couple of years and put them on the roster. I mean, they're close to like college playoff level. I mean,
right?
They have just lost so much talent. All right, you ready for this?
Da bomb.
And don't be confused. The 135,600 Scoville units. No. Okay, so Josh has Evolution. I have Beyond Insanity. And Beyond, I had to order it separate. Beyond Insanity is it's straight pepper extract. So there's no flavor to hide the heat. And they call it pure capsaicin. So I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, this is gonna be fun.
I am not.
He says all that and then says he's looking forward to it.
No,
it wasn't the cap.
When I watched the Hot Ones earlier, they said this is the worst tasting thing.
Yes.
I made sure to put a little extra one on this.
JD, are you ready to host the rest of the way?
If you guys topple over and need to go to the bathroom, you guys do.
I'm glad I got my Contavious Norton take.
I will slander all your favorite players once you guys are unable.
I've watched like 50 episodes, and and I've seen everyone struggle with this. So here goes.
All right. Good luck, gentlemen. Godspeed. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. We able to talk? What do we think? You guys look like you're doing all right. No breakdowns. Mentally, you're still there.
The more I chew, the hotter it gets.
You keep chewing, baby. You got this. Keep going. There's no way back.
Don't lick your lips.
That's a good.
My mouth is on fire.
No problem, Wes.
It tastes a lot like that barbecue place's chicken. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they're using.
That level went up like 10 times from everything else that we've done to this point.
Did it taste as terrible as we've heard?
It's not good.
It's not great. The taste isn't terrible, but
okay. Oat milk, baby. Josh, what are you drinking there, by the way? I don't think you got the oat milk going, do you?
No, this is oat milk for sure.
Oh, you guys are on top of it.
I got
I told him.
my daughter's
told him.
princess cup over here full of water, but hold on. I gotta
get your
here.
Don't get your lips with that sauce on her princess cup. She's gonna be in for a rude
It's hot.
awakening.
I will say that.
I can feel it like the right part of my lip because I tried to like do as much that didn't touch my lip as possible. The right part of my lip is numb.
It's not moving when you talk. It's like I'm just kidding.
No, my tongue is it's on fire. For sure.
Ooh.
These are the dedicated analysts you need in the Devy space, in the CFS space. You need some sick individuals beyond insanity, as it's called. That's what you need.
Oh man. Well, hey, one thing with evaluation we talked about with athletes, Wes. Scott Barrett talks a lot about post draft, right? He likes to go into the press conferences and listen to all of that and see what they're saying on players. And it really is like kind of this. He feels like this cheat code for him to really learn more.
Yeah.
The same is true in college of National Signing Day press conferences where coaches are gushing about their players. But you'll learn for athletes, you'll learn where they're going to play them.
Yeah.
But then also, you learn who they really like, what they think about that player. They can finally talk about them by name where they couldn't before and things like that. So it's usually a really positive day. They're a little bit more open. I don't know. It's the greatest parallel we have to what Scott Barrett's talking about. But there's 130 of them, so it's a little bit more
that's what I was going to say. There's a time factor there.
But yeah,
you're gonna need to compile all those, put it on a 2.5 times speed. Just listen to it while you go for a walk.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, you gonna be all right, Wes?
No, I'm good. I'm just I'm waiting for the initial burn to die down a little bit.
That was the first time Wes was visibly affected whatsoever.
Yeah, that was spicy. And I'm still feeling it a little bit, just a little bit, trying to maintain my composure here.
JD, we're gonna have to take over the hosting here. I think
so. Wes needs some time to collect. He's gonna go into the med tent. Maybe they'll shoot him up, whatever they shoot those guys up with. And they're back on the field throwing touchdowns in no time. So we have no doubt.
Yeah, there you go. Oh man. Well, I could talk about Jalen Glover for hours, but I don't think anybody wants to hear about him yet. So
no.
Another great one though to talk about, I think, is quarterback position. I think is one of the most difficult ones to evaluate, unless you have like the Bryce Youngs coming in that are pretty obvious. But do you guys have guys this year that are coming in that are freshmen that you're like, man, I think these guys are really going to pop off and hit? Is Devin Brown a guy, Wes, for you? I don't know if you can talk yet or if we should.
No, I do like Devin Brown, and I was watching him, and more than anything, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find the guys that I just want to just cross off my list. One of the guys was it's hard to think. Ty Simpson, Alabama. I don't like him.
Yeah,
I don't like him. Go back and watch.
Be careful. The C2C guys love him.
He runs backwards. Reminds me of Tyler Goodson with Iowa, where he would do that jump backwards thing. When he feels pressure, he turns around. He runs backwards. There was one play where he ran backwards 40 yards.
I don't think Nick Saban
like Garrett Nussmeier.
I don't think that would mix well with Nick Saban's personality.
And I was just going through his senior highlights. But I'll tell you a guy I love is Drew Allar.
Yeah. What, like just from watching his tape or?
Yeah, and the numbers too.
Yeah, the numbers are great.
I mean, they're ridiculous. A strong arm, powerful arm. He's got that. He's not lanky. He's 6'4", but 230 pounds. Yep. This guy is thick. He's the future. If Clifford, who every single drive, he's good for throwing one 10 feet above a receiver's head. If he gets hurt or dinged up, he's not going to get his job back.
Side note, if Will Levis is a first round QB and like hits in the NFL, a fireable offense for James Franklin, quite frankly, and that staff to start Sean Clifford, who like is pretty like to the naked eye is a bad quarterback.
I agree.
Will Levis walk?
But didn't Levis play at Penn State? He got some game time, and he kind of looked like Sean Clifford.
They didn't let him use his arm very much. He was mainly a wildcat quarterback. I mean, it's basically what he was for him.
Yeah, I remember. They treated him like he was a fullback. He looked like a fullback with a big arm.
Yeah, and Clifford he's like a good game manager.
Right.
And he's got some arm strength, but I mean, he's got some of the worst accuracy that I've seen in the game right now, in college right now.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I have him at, where is he ranked in my Devy ranks? Number 128. And that's just because he's at the very bottom and I just haven't eliminated him yet. There's like 0% chance that Sean Clifford does anything in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Drew Aller a lot. And I watched this film and I was like, man, this kid's awesome. Saw the stats. The one thing that's holding me back right now is I watched the Army All-American game. And I know that's, it can't be everything. And then I watched the Penn State spring game and he looked really nervous.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like it was just like processing really fast. And I'm like, is this competition? Is this just first game jitters? I mean, Tyler Van Dyke had the same thing, right? So you can't such a small sample size.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, I moved Cade Klubnik ahead of him for me because of that.
Who I like as well. I like Klubnik as well.
Right. But Aller, from just a toolsy perspective, I don't know if there's a better quarterback in this class as far as like what the NFL is going to like.
Yeah.
Josh, I had the same thing as you with Aller, super high on him. And the reason, again, I usually wouldn't put much stock into those games, especially the spring game, right? But the reason I did put a little stock into him is because I was like convinced he was going to be ready right away. I was convinced he was already better than Sean Clifford. And then in the spring game, like he just clearly wasn't. So how much that is jitters. I remember Bryce Young when he got time as a freshman, right? I remember thinking the kid does not look ready whatsoever. And then he comes out the next year and he's clearly ready. So I don't know if it's just a little adjustment period. Is that going to take 1 year? Is that going to take whatever? But it sounds like
hard.
Yeah, it's hard. And I think we're all pretty confident he's going to figure it out. I think we're all very high on him long term.
Right.
It's just, what's that adjustment? Is it a month? Is it a year, 2 years?
And from a Devy perspective, it doesn't matter really, like what you do as a freshman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for, is he a guy that I just want to mark off my list? Of course, I'll go back and reevaluate if I see something different, like with Ty Simpkins. I forget his name. Simpkins.
Ty Simpson.
Yeah. I'll evaluate if I see him on the field and he's looking good. I have the right to change my opinion. I'll walk it back, but and that's what's so like I was saying. That's what's so hard at quarterback is, like Kenny Pickett. He was at Pittsburgh for I think wasn't it 14 years, and while he was there, he never impressed me ever. Like I didn't like him. He was a good dual threat, and just almost serviceable in the right matchup, there at the end, but before his senior year. But then when he came out senior year, boom, and same with like Zach Wilson and you got these guys in the NFL teams. They're showing us that if you come out, and then you got on the other end of the spectrum, you got Sam Howell, who came out as a true freshman, setting like NCAA records, and was pretty consistent. And then he didn't have the type of surrounding talent as a true junior, and but still, he really showed off his mobility, and he just got wrecked in the evaluation process. I think, and he even had the strongest throw, had the strongest velocity at the combine. And for me, I think he's still going to be good.
Yeah.
I think Carson Wentz better watch out. I don't care where he's drafted. I mean, this kid's got Yeah, just crazy arm strength, and I thought he was accurate. I'm not holding what happened last year at North Carolina against him. I think he's still a guy that we definitely don't want to be crossing off our list. But that just goes to show just how the quarterback position and how you can come out of nowhere, really.
Right.
But what we can do in the process, while we're waiting for that type of breakout, is we can look for those tools and we can look for that development and it'll bridge the gap until we get there. So basically, I'm not gonna go out and draft unless it's a super flex. That kind of takes care of itself because you're gonna have everybody's gonna be going after quarterbacks, so you can take more chances. I feel. If it's not a super flex, I'm not going crazy at drafting young quarterbacks. Only the ones that I know are good. Like, boom, he's good.
The Quinn Ewers of the world.
Exactly. And the same with tight end. I don't draft a bunch of young tight ends. Even really in a tight end premium, I don't go crazy. I spend the most of my time on running backs and wide receivers in a Devy draft that, like I said, that's not a super flex. I just feel like it's too hard to, outside of the athletic freaks, I feel like it's too hard. Like, look at a guy like Jermaine Gresham. I know this is taking us back a little bit, but when he was at Oklahoma, he was like the can't miss tight end of the century. And then he goes to the NFL and he's okay, but he was never great. It's just too hard to look at these young kids at tight end, and there's such a learning curve that they have to learning all the protection packages in addition to their receiving responsibility, in addition to the run blocking setup, and it's just there's so much on their plate that a tight end and quarterback. I just feel like there's some guys, they have the athleticism, and the elite guys are the guys you're going to go after, the toolsy guys. But then there's the kind of gray area that where most of them are. You really shouldn't invest too much there. So that kind of takes a lot of the difficulty away from the Devy process, because when you're focusing mainly on your running backs and your wide receivers, you can kind of build up some momentum in order to identify the types of players that or the type of success and athleticism that you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
All right. We got to finish this off, Josh. I'm feeling better now. I'm good. So,
okay,
let's do it.
What do we got here, JD?
Psycho hot sauce.
And it's like 666,000 Scoville.
Yeah, 666,000. And it's from the Dingo Sauce Company.
So that's 5 times what we just did. Just
it is.
Put it in perspective.
All right. It says, well, I'll read it to you in a minute. It tastes better. Is it like a slow one? Okay, a little bit, yeah.
It's definitely not as bad as that.
No.
You know what's funny? As I talk more, it hurts more.
You're doing a lot better, Josh. I got to give you credit. You're doing better than you let on.
I've never eaten hot stuff, to be honest.
Okay.
Like, it's just not something.
I thought you were going to I thought you were going to have a tough time with this, Josh, and you're doing great.
Well, for the last one, we have to actually it's the last dab, and we actually got to pour a little bit of the hot sauce.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so it says.
Whew.
Hold on.
I gotta pull my hot sauce box down here. I don't have it out.
It says, Aussies like it hot. You may recognize Dingo sauce from season 11's Widowmaker. And if you do, you know what kind of pain you're in for. This blend of super hot peppers, including some of the world's hottest Trinidad Moruga scorpion peppers,
Yeah, baby.
make Psycho hot sauce hurt so good. It's good. It was actually had flavor, you know. I'm surprised I'm not even sweating. Like I figured this was gonna make me sweat and I'm gonna tear everywhere. It's not really kicked my butt like I thought it would.
I mean, the Scoville rating is insane. Like I'm questioning I'm questioning the nature of hotness. Is it because the taste just lessens it? It's just not pure evil tasting like the extract.
You know, I'm drinking oat. That's Natalie Portman. She swore by her oat milk, and
I do think the oat milk is helpful for sure.
Yeah. No,
Smart lady.
I feel like it's like it's got a thicker consistency than regular milk.
Yeah,
I feel like it helps to like coat your mouth. I really think she's onto something with that, for sure. So thank you,
Good old
Natalie Portman. I know you're listening, so thank you, Natalie Portman.
Big
yes.
fan.
I'll have to at her in post show.
Just like my attempts to at Sean Evans and First We Feast. Yeah, I didn't get a retweet. So
This one's for you, Natalie. Well, at least we can actually talk, though. I mean, that's a positive.
I'm amazed. I thought you guys were going to be just dead, and I was just going to have to fill the void with my takes. So this
I'm not saying I'm disappointed, because I mean it's been good, but yeah, maybe the last one is where we're gonna stick our foot in our mouths.
It has to be. It's 2 million Scoville.
2 million plus.
I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever been pepper sprayed in the face. I personally have not, but it's not something I dream about at night. I would look forward to.
Absolutely. I mean, should we announce the college football like subscription winners for right now before we can't talk?
Are we supposed to do that?
I'm not sure, but
might be a good idea.
I think Ben has them. So he says they're in the comments.
Did in the comments.
Okay, good deal. Okay. Good deal. Ben's got us.
Okay, cool.
So we probably have to talk about Rutgers for a second, because Ben is taking care of us so well.
Wimsat.
Yeah.
Man.
So Noah Vidral is back, and Rutgers' season is over. But
any chance that your boy starts though?
I'm hoping that he gets. I can't imagine. I don't care how good of a game manager somebody is, and he's not that great of a game manager. I mean, how do you bring in a kid with that much potential and not play him? And then here's the other factor. They actually brought in a kid, Taj Harris from Syracuse, that I like quite a bit, and I think he's got some NFL potential. And I think he's one of the best, one of the top outside receivers that Rutgers has had since like Leonte Carew. So I feel like as soon as he starts playing with Vidral, and he's like, okay, come on, seriously, somebody's got to get me the ball. I mean, that's why I came here, right? They got to put Wimsat in. He's got a strong arm,
right?
It just adds another layer to the Piscataway, flavor. I can't imagine them just ruining another season for the Scarlet Knights fans.
I think Wimsat starts. I heard I think it was the 247 Rutgers writer, someone, but yeah, he was like pretty convinced, like almost confidently. Usually they kind of sugarcoat it. It's almost like the coach speak, right, if they're connected with the team, but he was like pretty confident. He said, yeah, we brought Wimsat. They brought Wimsat in to elevate this program. Now's the time to elevate it, seems, right? He was saying exactly what we're saying. It seems pretty obvious. Vidral's not, like, what is he bringing? He's supposed to be a dual threat or a game manager, like Wes said. He's not. He's bringing literally nothing to the table. So
nothing. And it was strange that they burned Wimsat's red shirt. I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter anymore these days. Josh and I were going through and we're building the CFF ranks, and we're adding an extra little layer. We're providing the designations for every player, and we're going to rank a lot of players. And JD, you're getting in on this, and you're going to rank every player that we do, by the way. So We've got a spreadsheet set up with all of your personal rank sheets. So you got a little bit of work to do, but the good news is you don't have to do that part. We're doing all the heavy lifting there, so you're just gonna move guys up and down. Excuse me, but yeah, I mean it doesn't seem like in the college world that it matters anymore. You get 6 years now. That's just basically what it's like.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's like you got to do your own interpretation of like who's NFL ready and who's not.
Yeah. Well, and then one thing I've noticed is that with the bigger programs, your Alabamas, your Ohio States, and your Clemsons and teams like that, they don't even mess around with red shirts very much. They basically let you play just true, and then if you want to stay, then they'll throw a red shirt on there. Then they'll throw a super season, so super senior year. So yeah, but then when you get into like the group of 5, that's when you have like, you'll be looking at their profile. In the last 3 years, it'll be like true freshman, true freshman plus, redshirt freshman, and then you'll look up at the top and that redshirt freshman list, or yeah, that redshirt freshman plus listing was from 2021, and then at the top on 2022, redshirt freshman. They're like, what are you talking about? You're saying this guy's been a freshman for 4 years? I mean, it's just ridiculous. Right. They think that no one's going to figure it out,
Right.
So
right.
Whatever.
It's insane.
But yeah, man, it's getting it's almost 10, so let's do this.
All right, let's do it.
The last dab.
Let's go, baby.
So we throwing this sauce on here. What are we doing?
The last dab. Yep, Apollo.
Oh man,
just put a little extra on there.
2 million Scoville.
Ooh. All right.
Last dab. You've seen The Last Dance. You've heard of Michael Jordan. You have not seen Legendary until tonight. The Last Dab.
All right, here we go.
All right, show it, Josh. There's my my last dab there. How much did you put on? Let me pull my video.
He put on a lot, man. Josh, brother.
Let me see.
I'm concerned for your.
Oh wow. Okay, I'll put a little more on there.
Oh.
Josh, you're crazy. You're going Shia LaBeouf on us.
Hey, are we like? I mean, we're ending the show pretty soon, right? Like,
yes.
Or I'm ending the show soon.
If you guys are dead, we'll just call it. I'll end it and we'll call it. You guys will be fine. You won't die immediately.
If you watch any of the hot ones, the best one was Shia LaBeouf. He put extra on every single one. Like he was dousing these things, and he was miserable at the end, but he did it, man. All right, you guys.
Dude, I want to watch his for sure. Okay.
All right, let's do it.
Right away.
Oh.
Oh, man. Okay, it's already got them both. Josh is reduced to snorting and giggling. Wes made the immediate recognition.
Josh's response to a burning mouth is to crack up laughing.
That's perfect Josh right there. If you don't know Josh, that's Josh.
Laugh or cry. That's my motto. Yeah. Oh my God.
You might be doing both soon, Josh. You might be doing both soon.
It's hot. I will say though, it's not as bad as the bomb. The bomb was the hottest.
Really? I wonder who makes these Scovilles. Whose job is it to sit there and make these Scovilles?
I don't know. But, if you watch the show, it's the same thing. Everyone says the bomb's the hottest.
Oh, my gosh.
You guys really poured it on there. You guys got a little cocky. You did it. So props to you guys.
Woo! I tell you what. My mouth is burning.
Ooh. It's hot.
I believe you.
Can you see the tears? Tears are rolling down my face right now.
Dedication.
Woo. Oh my gosh. And the more I talk, the more it burns.
Mm-hmm. Wait till you floss your teeth.
Oh. I don't know if this oat milk, I mean, it's helping for sure, but.
Then in the last one, when it's hot, that stuff's hot. Yeah. I'm gonna say it's a tie with the bomb.
Yeah, because you had the hotter the bomb. I mean, I had like the mild one.
How did that one taste though? The last one. Could we taste anything or it just burned our?
Yeah, here. Yeah, it was good. Ooh, yeah, it's hot.
It's hot. Like, hopefully it doesn't like kill my stomach, but I'm hoping that like it's not like eating like 20 hot wings and then that just destroys you.
Yeah.
I'd be more worried about that. I can handle heat. Yeah. Whew. Okay.
Speaking of Will Levis, both of my boys they're attending a football camp, and he's one of the guys putting it on.
That's awesome. He's doing like trick throws with them. I feel like.
Yeah, so they're sitting up on balconies and they have like garbage cans like 300 yards away. Yeah, they're like really high up, and they're like.
It's like that. Hey, what is that? Like, hey, dude, or I don't know what the. There's that group of guys that does.
Dude, awesome or something.
Dude, awesome. There you go.
Okay. Dude, perfect.
Dude, oh.
My kid, most of my boys are big YouTubers. They love YouTube. It's all they watch. These Gen Zs.
Hey, saves you some money on cable subscriptions.
We got a little girl, so she has to have she has to have her Netflix. She got her Disney Plus.
I think we learned a valuable lesson. The oat milk for some of these hot takes we're seeing. Speaking of, these first round quarterbacks, I think if you get a little too spicy, have a little oat milk, relax. Some of your hot takes.
Our next live stream needs to be like, what hot takes out in the fantasy community need oat milk for them to cool them down a little bit?
I love it.
Wow.
The oat milk sponsorship. It's coming.
For sure.
Yeah, the oat milk didn't have much on that one.
Nah. I'm gonna have to, I'm addicted to chapstick, so I've been putting it on over here, but I think this one's getting thrown away after this.
Oh yeah, it's gonna have the remnants of it. Can't use that.
Yeah.
No. Wow. Okay. Well,
that was fun.
The conversation fell off a little bit there.
Naturally. Whew. You guys were great though. I mean, the last one got you guys a little bit, but even the bomb, you guys worked through that. The recovery time, right back on the field.
So, congratulations to the winners, and for every one of you guys for sticking around. We appreciate it. We're gonna run this back. Maybe we'll get JD to do it.
I'm in.
Yeah, after seeing that, hey, it's not as bad as you thought it was, probably.
I mean, the last one got you guys, but the rest, you guys did it. I can do it. We're a team.
Yeah. We're going to do a CFF primer. So whether you love us or hate us, you're going to be satisfied either way. So definitely come check it out.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, just make sure you use that code that I told you, call it CFB30, get 30% off, and sign up for the college football package. You get the Devy information. You get JD's player props. We're also going to have Graham Barfield's yards created. And then our guy T-Bro, Tom Brawley, is going to give you additional college football betting content. Just it's worth it. Plus you get the bowl package, the bowl, Josh, go ahead and say that.
Yep. The bowl betting guide. that we have going on, which walks through every game, and player props and betting for that as well. So, and that's usually $25. So it's basically that's half of the subscription right there. And what I love about all this is like it's not just CFF, it's not just Devy. You're getting a real comprehensive package. And if you're not aware, like player props are just blowing up, and there's a real good opportunity with a guy like JD who's just been hitting at a very high rate. People are making a lot of money, and so if you just do the player props, if you just do our DFS, like you're gonna make your money back pretty quickly. The betting as well, and so come for that and stay for the CFF and Devy, where man, I think we're gonna do all right there too. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, let's keep this short and sweet. I appreciate my co-hosts, JD and Josh. You guys were great, and I look forward to providing as much content as possible. So signing off, and we appreciate you listening. Have a good night.
see you guys.